Thyroid hormone physiology part 2. In the first video, we have discussed about the basic thyroid hormone synthesis, how it is released, how it has an action on the peripheral tissue. Today we'll see the second part of this thyroid physiology. Today we'll learn how this thyroid hormone act. We all know thyroid secretes two hormone. One is the T4, that is prohormone, and that is converted into active hormone T3. T3 has 15-fold higher binding affinity for thyroid receptor as compared to T4. That's why it is a main thyroid active hormone. It enters cell nucleus and binds to thyroid receptors. There are subtypes of thyroid receptors, alpha and beta, alpha, beta 1, beta 2, and so on. Thyroid receptor alpha expressed in the heart and muscles, while beta it is in the pituitary. Thyroid receptor forms heterodimer with RXR. What is that? We'll see in the subsequent slides. It acts on thyroid hormone responsive elements, that is called as TRE, and this leads to expression or suppression of the genes. Here you can see a thyroid hormone T3 and T4 entering into the nucleus, the cell cytoplasm, and this is RXR, that is retinoid X receptor. It binds to thyroid hormone receptors and they give a gene formation with the thyroid hormone response element, leading to transcription of a gene and formation of mRNA. This mRNA leads to synthesis of new proteins, which is important for the various growth factors, or you can say for various systems at different level. That we'll see subsequently. So TR and RXR forms heterodimers that bind specifically to thyroid hormone response elements, and they promote the regions of target genes. This is the action of thyroid hormone. You can see in the blood capillaries, free hormone comes with the help of transport protein. The hormone is freed from the proteins, and these proteins, as this hormone is lipid soluble, it diffuses into the cell, where in the nucleus with the receptors, their activated receptor hormone complex that alters the gene expression of the DNA and forms the mRNA. This mRNA or the hormones or the ribosomes lead to new protein formation, and these new protein formations, with the help of RNA synthesis, the specific proteins, they are important in alternating the functions of the cell. So here you can see the step 1 where there is a transport of these hormones across the plasma membrane, entering into the receptors of the mitochondria and the nucleus. Increased ATP production occurs that leads to target cell response. Similarly, when it enters into the receptors with the RXR, they bind to the receptor complex of the DNA and activates the gene that leads to transcription and mRNA production, and this mRNA production is translated and protein synthesis occurs that leads to alteration of cellular activity. So this is the action of thyroid hormones. Let's see how it enters into the circulation. We know that thyroid gland produce 90% of T4, 9% of T3 and 1% of reverse T3. So here you can see out of that T4 is 80 microgram, 24 microgram per day of the total production of T3 comes from the T4 and 6 is actually from the gland. This is a peripheral conversion. Then reverse T3 again 30 micrograms. Out of 3 microgram is peripheral conversion. So this is the T4 ultimately 8 microgram per dl as a serum level average, 120 nanogram per dl is T3 levels, and 30 nanogram per dl is reverse T3 production levels into the serum. Now, as a circulation, in the circulation, the thyroid hormones, they move as bound hormone and free form. Free form is an active hormone at tissue level. The percentage of free hormone is 0.03% of T4 and 0.3% of T3. So see the ratio. 1:10 times. So T3 is 1 while T4 is 0.1%. So this is the ratio. So more than 99% of T4 and T3 is bound to plasma carrier proteins. Factors that change the binding proteins affect total hormones. Free hormones are usually not affected with this protein state. Like when you get in hypoproteinemic state, more and more free hormones are there in the body, in the circulation. So carrier proteins can be affected by physiological changes, maybe because of drugs, maybe because of disease. Most of the circulating hormone is T4 as I told you earlier. So more than 50 times than T3. So half-life here of T4 is 6 days as it is bound 99% to the proteins. So longer half-life, while T3 half-life is only 1 day. So the amount of circulating thyroid hormone is about 3 times the amount normally secreted by the gland every day, and thus circulating protein bound thyroid hormones act as a significant reserve. That's why you take everyday replacement therapy with the thyroxine every day, because the T3 half-life is only 1 day. Transport of thyroid hormones, how it occurs? TBG, that is thyroid zinc binding globulin, major protein to carry thyroid hormones, 80% of the hormones. And there is another protein called as transthyretin, TTR. It carries the remaining 10% of T4 and it doesn't carry any T3. And the albumin, remaining 10% of T4 and 30% of T3 is carried by albumin, right? Now how it converts from T4 to T3? As we know, T4 is a prohormone, T3 is active form, T4 is converted into T3 outside the thyroid gland, mostly in the liver and kidney. I would like to mention here that peripheral conversion of T4 to T3, 30% of it occurs into the gut flora. So this is very important, that gut flora has a major role in conversion of T4 to T3, and T3 binds to nuclear receptors and leads to various expression and suppression of various genes. Now let's see the mechanism. We all know it's a store of hormone. To manage day-to-day iodine intake, this is very important, that colloid store should have good amount of hormones in that because of the day-to-day iodine variability in total ingestion. Why T4 is a prohormone? Because we all know it has a longer half-life, more than 6 days to 7 days. That's why there is no variability or less variability. It has good volume of distribution, that is 10 liters, and the extrathyroidal pull of T4 is 770 microgram. There is no fluctuation in the levels with the variable availability of the iodide, while T3 has 80% of this T3 is produced by extrathyroidal deiodination and has half-life of 1 day. T4 is biologically inactive at the target tissues, so it has to be converted into T3, and you can see here the structure of T4 and structure of T3. These are the outer rings and these are the inner rings. The outer ring iodine is taken out by deiodinase 2, leading to formation of T3, while removal of this inner ring of T4 is converted to reverse T3. So this is done by deiodinase enzymes and the process is called as deiodination. There are 3 types of deiodinase, D1, D2 and D3. D2 is for conversion of T4 to T3. D3 is for inactivation of T3 and D1 has a role in thyrotoxicosis. So D2 acts, as I told you, D2 acts on outer ring dehydrogenase and most important for production of T3 in a physiological conditions. While inner ring is acted upon D3 and inactivates T4 to reverse T3 and T3 to T2. And as I said, D1 can deiodinate both outer and inner rings, and it has mainly worked on reverse T3 and T2 and deadenate them. This is responsible for 20% of T3 formation in normal physiology. And during thyrotoxicosis, 50% T3 by D1 and conversion of T3 goes high. That's why when you use PTU, that blocks D1, and that's why you get reduction in thyrotoxic symptoms. During hypothyroidism, similarly, D2 activity is increased to keep T3 normal. Coming to the metabolism of T4, 41% of T4 is converted to T3, 38% into reverse T3. Both this is metabolically inactive, and 20% of this metabolized via other pathways through conjugation into the liver, and it is excreted into the bile. So total 80 micrograms of T4 is produced by the gland, and out of this 80 microgram, 24 microgram is converted into T3 at the periphery, and 27 microgram is converted into reverse T3. Thyroid gland also secretes 6 microgram of T3. So total is 30 micrograms of T3. While 3 micrograms of reverse T3 is secreted by thyroid glands, again 30 micrograms of reverse T3. So this is the metabolism of thyroid hormone. Now let's see the various factors which affect the thyroid secretions. Circadian rhythm, acute psychosis and cold stimulates the hypothalamus to release TRH, and that subsequently stimulates by pituitary gland to secrete TSH and stimulates the thyroid gland. Low iodide is also one of the stimulatory factors to release TSH from the thyroid gland. Similarly, severe stress, corticosteroids, dopamine and the high iodide content of the food all can lead to TSH suppression. So this is all about the thyroid physiology part 2. If you have any queries, you can write me to email jka29405 @gmail.com.